Okay, hi everyone. So we're back. I'm not going to talk about anything as cool as what Werner did because I am very, very new to this. I've recently only gotten into the cloud space, still don't really have an idea of what it is. So there's my Twitter link there, and that is my name. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Melissa, but please call me Mel. Only my mom calls me Melissa when I'm in trouble. So let's just stick to Mel. Okay, so this is a junior's journey to AWS. So a little bit about myself. I am a developer, and I absolutely love what I do. And one of the things I love doing is working in the web space. Sounds quite simple, right? A couple of months ago, that ball was changed and was shoved into the mobile space, and we had to come up with a solution fairly quickly. And one of the things my senior requested from me was, I want to host this in the cloud. And I go, okay, cool, we've got magical pixies that do things here, like they put it on the App Store and they do cool things, so I don't need to worry about that. And he goes, no, I need you to get pricing for me based on what is it going to cost me to host it on AWS and what is it going to cost me to host it in Heroku, as we know is another cloud service thing that you can do stuff with. Right. So I came back to him, and unfortunately the client decided not to go with AWS. And something didn't sit right with me. And this is a quote from Jeff Bezos. Who of you know who he is? Okay, well, that's 3 hands. That's good. That's good. And a quote, I love quotes. That's another thing about me. And I always try and associate a quote with one of my talks. And this quote says, I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that. But I knew one thing I might regret is not trying. And I felt very scared. And I kind of said to my senior, okay, we'll have the tech lead handle this one. I'll just make sure that the code is ready for when you want to deploy. That's what I'll do. I'll make sure that there's no bugs. And I felt quite disappointed in myself. And I figured, how am I ever going to learn this stuff? This seems like a pace where everything is heading towards. Whenever you hear something, someone is talking about Amazon Web Services and the cloud and all these amazing things that they can do, and something that we've just heard that we probably didn't know existed. And I figured, okay, I probably need to give it a try. So I said to Roy, let's speak at the AWS group. And I said, all right, I'm going to try and deploy something really small. I have a small user account. And I'm like, you know what? I heard people were talking about Elastic Beanstalk, and that just sounds magical. And, maybe there won't be a giant waiting up there to kill me when I get there. Bad pun. Feel free to laugh. And I saw the pricing of that, and I was like, okay, well, let's not, overcharge anyone because I have no idea what I'm doing. So how to actually get started? How hard can it really be? Deploying my first application in less than a day, quite proud about that. Gave myself about a week to figure that out. And then feeling like an Amazonian, and that's why I've got Wonder Woman there, because that's kind of the sensation and feeling I had when I finally got everything right and I stopped crying. Right. So when you officially get your user account and, you've given them all your secret details of your credit card, and you flinch a little bit inside because you don't know what you're doing, and it's going to work out really expensive because it's one of those things that happen. You get to the management console. And here's the really cool thing about it. Everything I need to know is there if I know where to find it, which took me a while to figure out as well. But I can learn how to build, and I can learn how to deploy, and I can learn all the different things that I need to know. Okay, so first step, reading all the things. So that link looks really bad there. I do apologize. If you do want the links, I will give them to you afterwards. I promise the slides looked a lot better when it was on my machine. So I didn't expect this, but I will give you the links. So my first step obviously was all the reading. How to create buckets, what exactly is a bucket, etc., etc. Registering a domain, creating and configuring buckets, as I mentioned. And then there were 2 more links there as well. But it all pretty much comes down to this poorly small image here, so I'll just tell you what's happening there. So after I've done all of that, I can actually see a whole bunch of buckets because I was privileged enough to get a test account and to see what other people are up to as well. So I kind of piggybacked off of what I could see and off of what I could read. So I decided, let's deploy. So before I show you all the other things, once again, I apologize for the bad links. So these are 4 of the research points that really helped me to get up and running in less than a day. I don't like sitting too long on a problem, which I know is a bad trait to have as a developer, but I like to do things fast and I like to get it done. So these 4 links were really, really helpful. And some of the stuff I learned there is, because I only heard Elastic Beanstalk, and that is all that my boss could talk about, and, oh, it's so cool, and we need to try and, really get the client in this direction, and I figured, after seeing the price range, I figured, let's go to something else. So these 4 sites really did assist in that. All right, cool. Let's get started. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, I can create buckets here. I can see buckets, so we know that we've got 30 buckets and 8 of them are public. Don't ask me what that means, I don't know. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so 30 buckets were created, and within those buckets, there are some code that's been uploaded by some few people, and 8 of them are public, which means they are publicly accessible. I can send someone that link, and boom, Bob's your uncle. There's no need to log in and do all the fancy stuff that Werner did, right? And we've got it running in 3 regions. I'm guessing one of them would be Ireland, because one of them were created today, and that was the one I chose. North Virginia, and a whole bunch of others, but I feel like I'm telling you something you already know. One of the other really cool things is that, I really panicked there for a moment. No, it was terrible. I literally messaged Rory, and I'm like, my thing is not deploying. So, we can check build. The nice thing about this, when you're actually up and running and you are able to upload, you can get an overview of what exactly it is that you are deploying to the cloud, which I think is quite useful. One of the things I noticed in Heroku is that I can see my containers, I can monitor them, I can build and deploy as I feel like, but what exactly am I deploying? Working in a CLI, it's quite simple to just go, deploy to cloud. I'm not physically seeing the files and the folders that I'm uploading. And I actually like this viewability a little bit more because it gives me a broader spectrum of exactly what it is that I'm doing. Right, I can see properties on this. So before you actually deploy, you can actually set your properties. So like versioning, server access logic, this is just a static website. Please don't be disappointed with what you're about to see. Don't have high expectations, that's all I'm saying. Object level logging, default encryption, and all of this, there is so much documentation on that. If I were to stand here and explain all these things to you, I could stand here all night. And then as I mentioned earlier, permissions. So it is public, there we go, okay? And I can also add other accounts to this bucket, and they can probably play around with it, which I don't think is a good idea for me at the moment to do that because I might just give someone permission to break something. So let's just learn to walk before we fly. And I can also see a buckets policy, and a course configuration. Who of you here can tell me what the course configuration means? What? Which I think is pretty awesome, and I think that would have great value, especially being even in a small business. Think about that for a little bit. Management, I can manage it. Okay, so obviously I haven't added any objects, I haven't expired anything, I haven't automated anything, because it's just simply for me to get started, because we all need to start somewhere, right? Okay, so to actually show you what this does, so within there I have a screenshot, okay, and if I were, so this is quite cool. I can see who the owner is, I can see when it was last modified, server-side encryption, size, blah, blah, blah. But the really cool thing is the link. And I got denied, which is great. Still don't know how to fix that. But I'm not discouraged just yet. Why is the internet so slow? There we go. So, simple index HTML page. One of the things I struggled with when I was trying to do an Elastic Beanstalk deployment was I zipped my folder, like everyone on Stack Overflow said I should do, and I deployed it, and they're like, sorry, you can't find your package JSON, everything's failing, and I'm like, but it's there. So really simple about this, giving me viewability on what I can see, is I can not only see what the folders are, but I can view them in real time. And that was my first deployment to AWS. I promise for the next talk I'll do something a little bit more exciting, but as I said, let's learn to walk before we fly. Are there any questions, short and sweet, before we get to more cooler stuff?